Howdy, end users, and welcome to episode 7 of this podcast. That's just me, David Blue, speaking to my phone. It's been 5 months since the 1st of May. Well, a little over 5 months since you last heard from me. Since then, I've gone back to school for the first time in 7 years, which has been a lot more interesting technologically than I certainly expected. Don't worry, an essay is coming, but I probably should wait till the end of the academic year, just so I can be free with everything. I bought a desktop. I didn't build one. I bought one. Interestingly enough, Hewlett-Packard sells, office-ish targeted desktop PCs with high specs in every area, but video memory. I don't really need to play a video game, although, yeah. So I bought a desktop. It's pretty powerful in every way, except it's just got an integrated video card, which has virtually, not very much power at all. I've delved into some new terms, heavy terms, maybe pretentious terms, like digital gardens, and I think it's sort of my own. This is unironic, creative wellness. I'm not exactly sure what that means yet, but I've encountered a lot of genuinely inspiring things on the internet in this time of sickness. I'm reading a book that has brought me more joy than any has in a very long time, called Track Changes, A Literary History of Word Processing, that was published in 2016 by an English professor, Matthew G. Kirschenbaum, which I will be writing about. And I have delved into Notion and the Adobe Creative Cloud, both because, did I say cloud? The Adobe Creative Cloud. Is my jacket, I think my jacket's leather is, I'm not going to bother to take it off. You're just going to have to deal with the creaking. But anyway, so both of those, both Notion and Adobe Creative Cloud, I was able to do because of the discounts enabled by my .edu email that I get for going to school. It's a handy thing. And because of that, I've at least committed to learning InDesign, fairly systematically. I've been thinking about working with Python, but I don't want to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a few things. I want to talk about the social dilemma. I'm going to talk about waste, digital gluttony. Yet again, my episode about network withdrawals is exactly 2 years old now. Oh, yes, I'm going to talk about WordPress. I'm sorry. Programming note. End user has made me $1.58 so far in advertising revenue. I know I once committed to never putting ads in podcasts, but hey, it's Anchor. I want to try it. I like Anchor. Nobody else is offering sponsorships. There's a link if you want to support me. Can't imagine why you would. But let's do this in a relatively organized manner, since I do have show notes. So my newfound use of Notion, which if you didn't know is, it's hard to describe, but it's, I guess when it comes down to it, it's basically a database software. It's a note-taking service. It's one of those things, just like, okay, so originally with Bear, my beloved Bear that I can't use, it's one of those things that I spent a few months downloading on my phone and on my computer. Then I would open it, look at it, and be like, oh, Jesus, and be overwhelmed, and then close it and then uninstall it. I did that 3 times, no exaggeration, before I actually sat down and looked at what it was. With Bear, I think it's just the default theme. But anyway, so going back to school, just a community college for an associate's degree, I have done that. I kind of committed to doing that since I got the Notion. They offer basically their premium service, not their enterprise one, but their premium service for free to students, which is cool. So I was just I'll just do school in Notion. So I set up a database for the semester and hooked it up to my school's learning management software, which is Canvas. This is all new to me, by the way. I had no idea that learning management software existed until I entered this. I had no idea how much more digitized this process, going to school, even in a community college, has become since I last went just 7 years ago. I guess it's partially because of COVID, but it's an interesting subject, and I'm looking forward to really exploring it. Notion being one of those tools for academics, and it's explicitly for academia. There's a lot of they do YouTube live events and invite academics on to show off their Notion templates. I could do a whole episode on Notion. I'm going to try not to. But yeah, so that's an integral part of that whole thing. I was talking about integration. So Canvas the learning management software has a calendar, and there's a public calendar feed, and it's easy to just subscribe to that calendar feed in Outlook or Google Calendars, which I did both several times. I managed to figure out eventually, that it was not easy, how to go from Canvas to Google Calendars, and then from Google Calendars to Notion. Because in Notion, you can't subscribe to a calendar feed, but you can integrate Google Calendars. It's not automated yet. I don't know if I'll make it automated, but someone probably has. And the experience has been, I don't know. My sister asked me, like, is it good or bad? I don't know if I'm referring to the increased digitization of going to school. I think that or at least I feel like I have way more control over my school experience. Let's see, I need to condense this. Some interesting. So you can submit assignments in Canvas. It literally integrates directly with Google Drive, but I'm not doing that. In basically any file format, and you can submit multiple files for a submission. So, and my professors at least so far, have been really ambiguous about what file format they prefer. So I would just take the Notion page of, say, a source analysis, and export it in all the formats that Notion offers, which is HTML, Markdown, and PDF, and just send them all. I think my American history professor said that he prefers the PDF, so I'm just... I also sent one Notion page that he literally just said, I don't understand this, and gave me a 0. But yeah, I can't communicate to you how different it is, largely because of COVID. Yes, I wish I could take out COVID for a second and just do a hypothetical and see how much it's changed, or it would have changed otherwise. But, well, one thing I've noticed is that my classmates, for one thing, 18, I'm going to turn 27 in a few months. 18 to 27, at least from my experiences, is such a vast difference. I'm not any better or wiser, other than, I guess, as I've gotten older, I just feel like I know less and less, and now I've reached the conclusion that I know absolutely nothing. But when I was 18, I thought I knew everything. This is something you've heard a billion times before. Anyway, the dismaying thing is that my peers, my 18-year-old peers, seem to be terrible at Googling. And the one skill that I shouldn't say Googling, using a search engine. And that one skill, being able to use a search engine, has saved, well, it's basically the reason I'm passing geology at all. And doing it quickly. My understanding of the web that I've gained is just helps me tremendously. Even though I'm not taking any technological classes. Anyway, you can actually view all of this by going to davidblue.wtf/wiki. That's the other thing. My landing page is a personal wiki. But yeah, I'm really just taking it too far with Notion. We might come back to that. Recently, what I published yesterday on bilge.world, which, by the way, now has updated typography, Caslon Bilge, thanks to Adobe Creative Cloud. I published a bit on The Social Dilemma, the popular documentary on Netflix. Let me try to succinctly say, you know what, you're going to hear some clicking. I'm going to go into my notes document real quick and note two things on that film. Assuming that The Social Dilemma is targeted toward people who didn't already know this, like people who use the web, but basically, and have heard the terms, have seen the court proceedings, know that Facebook, Google, basically those two are doing something vaguely bad. They're having a bad effect. Maybe they've probably heard it associated with the outcome of the 2016 election, and however they feel about that. But don't really understand the inner workings of ad tech, advertising, the word we use. I can't imagine that any of those are listening. I would love if they were, but I kind of intended to write this commentary to those people. I hope I at least reached one. But there's two essential points I want to make about the film. So in the film, Peter Campbell, the actor that plays Peter Campbell in Mad Men, plays a puppeteer of a sort. So it's a documentary, but there's also this dramatization of, let's focus on one character, a teenage boy using his phone, and, God, I don't know film jargon, but depicted, behind the screen of his phone is Peter Campbell, multiples of Peter Campbell at this control console, manipulating the kid through his phone by making changes and throwing out he did this, so I'm going to throw up a follow suggestion. And this is a really dangerous depiction, as funny as it is, because it's directly misleading as to the actual dangers of the behind the screen stuff from social media. In that it sort of seems to suggest that there's a human intelligence, that it is a human intelligence, Peter Campbell, multiples of Peter Campbell, that are literally sitting down per user and looking at a user's activity in real time, and manipulating it. And that is just blatantly false. It is 99.999%, the chances of a human being ever setting their eyes upon the activity data that any of these online services collect is so remote. It doesn't happen in the normal, just straight up doesn't happen. Your data is anonymized almost immediately, because essentially there's no, they just change your name into a ID number, basically. There's no incentive for them to actually know you. There is an incentive for them to know you as a data point, but it doesn't actually come back to your real life. I don't know if that made sense. The danger is not that there are people looking at your data, okay? That's how I would define the reason why privacy is kind of a word that I think is particularly we need to throw out. It was way over-focused on by this film. I guess my definition of my personal privacy is not violated by my activity being collected, anonymized, and then only ever analyzed by human eyes as part of a data set that includes tens of thousands of other users or more. Just if no human eyes ever set upon my activity, my privacy has not been breached. And in watching this film, I realized, and maybe I knew it before, because in 2015, I actually made a big deal about when Google was like, hey, so we've been collecting this data about you, but if we collect some more, there was an opt-in. I just clicked everything. I opted into everything as kind of an experiment. I think the trade of my activity as part of a greater data set, trading that in order to use services for free, I'm okay with that. I'm still okay with that. Cambridge Analytica was definitely kind of the inevitable controversy to happen. Honestly, though, okay, on a personal, it's worth noting that even if someone did set eyes upon my activity, I wouldn't be bothered, to be honest. I don't do anything that I feel the need to conceal. It's the other direction. I would almost love it if someone would, against, some Google employee would go rogue and spy on me, because it would mean that they would be reading my essays and listening to my podcast. So I guess that's a disclaimer I should make. Anyway, that's so wrong. Just forget, if you're that person who this is very educational for you, that film, please disregard the Peter Campbell. That's just bullshit. It's bullshit fiction. My other problem, and the one that I should have spent all this time on, is, so the film was I should note up front that I discovered that this foundation that created the film, and it is one foundation, is supported by Firefox. That's Mozilla Firefox is a private for-profit company. That's important to note. That makes a web browser. Important to note going forward. So my big thing throughout the entire thing, all the criticisms, however relevant I may believe them to be, of the internet, technology, ad tech, our general technological situation right now, the thing that was not mentioned there are alternatives to every single one of the services mentioned and more. And not just, they're small, not just recent ones. There are projects that have been going on, some of them for decades, alternatives to services like Google Search. You've probably seen DuckDuckGo billboards. I was utterly flabbergasted to see one along the interstate. DuckDuckGo is an alternative that's become visible. Bing, Bing. Actually, I should probably talk about that at some point. But there's also this, the one that I would love to offer up to you as an alternative to Google Search. It's called Ecosia. It's a German project that, basically, the more you search, they go and they plant trees. They go, not the developers don't go literally out in galoshes and go and dig holes and plant trees, but they send that money to organizations that plant trees. You have to look it up. Ecosia, you can see all where all the money goes. You search, it makes use of Bing's search shit. The compromise is, in some ways, and I could do another podcast about search engines entirely and the state of them. I don't know if you've noticed, I know a lot of people in my sphere have, but in the past few years, Google has gotten really useless. It's gotten less useful, bogged down with, SEO has really fucked Google's usefulness as a search engine. It was a vague notion maybe in 2016. Now it's like a daily problem for me. But let's just assume technically Google is still the most effective search engine because you're going to make a compromise using Ecosia or Bing. They're not quite as good. DuckDuckGo is, I just don't use it. I've been using Bing recently, sometimes in certain cases, and it's not all that rare. Maybe in 15% of cases of searches that I do, Bing has actually returned more relevant results than Google. But again, that's an entirely different discussion. So yeah, there's one alternative. Mastodon, said this a billion times before, but Mastodon being the open source, decentralized, Twitter-esque social network that I've advocated for a billion, lots. There's an interview with its creator in this podcast archive. You don't have to know what any of those words mean. There's a relevant tweet, actually, and I probably should look it up, but you don't have to care about privacy or centralization or any of this, actually, to adopt some of these alternatives, Mastodon namely. Mastodon is literally a better social network. It's a better experience. I probably talked about the Facebook. Did I say last episode I'm about to publish the Facebook essay? Still haven't done it. That discusses a lot of those alternatives. But I said in my Letterboxd review and in this post, I should note, literally, if you are hearing this and you're like, I would like to know more about that, but you don't know where to go next, if you're comfortable with it and if it sounds easiest to you, grandma and grandpa, call me. My number is 573-823-4380. Or text me, davidblue@extratone.com. Send me an email. I will straight up sit down with you and go answer any questions that you may have. Why haven't you heard about them before? Well, because Google controls Google and Twitter, largely because nothing ever enters the mainstream space and technology until it becomes a financial prospect, which Ecosia is certainly not. Mastodon's not really. But also because, there's no incentive for you to be exposed to them business-wise. But yeah, this film did not mention any of them. Now, I did find an alternatives page in the Data Detox Kit, which is a part published by an adjacent organization to the organization that did the movie. In the Data Detox Kit, there is an alternatives page, which when you actually go to the website, it's difficult to find. But on that alternatives page, namely, lots of Firefox products. First thing, basically, that the page argues is you need to switch to Firefox immediately, of course. The Facebook container browser extension for Firefox, done by Firefox, it surmises that you can browse Facebook and control the shit they track from you. The terminology here, data detox. Privacy has nothing to do with detoxifying the toxicity that we're dealing with here, which has to do with the words social media addiction, email addiction, as funny as this is. Echo chambers. Yeah, yes, privacy sort of has to, but here's something that you need to get to grips with. If you are still bothered by the idea of anonymized data being collected about you, literally, not to be harsh, but you need to start considering abstaining from the internet, because there is no option. There's basically no realistic or feasible way to browse the internet without being tracked in some way. And I think that going down the avenue of trying to control the tracking is such a waste of time. For one thing, it's futile. And the way that they talk about privacy is that it's as this positive commodity, as something you can get more of. Make sure to get your privacy before we run out. And again, privacy has nothing to do with you feeling awful about your use of social media. And if the film did make you feel uncomfortable about your relationship with your phone, et cetera, frankly, what needs to be stated is are really simple things. Basically, you gotta put it down. You gotta put your phone down. You gotta turn it off. You gotta remove it. Maybe not cold turkey for social media. One thing I noted is I probably had a social media or notification addiction at some point. I remember when my phone got a lot more screen time that was just me noticing things that other people had setting. No one engages with my shit. I've talked about this before. Everything's dropped off. I have no friends. And that's kind of weaned me into a state where maybe I'm sure people in my life think that I'm addicted to technology in other ways, certainly, but not in notification. I'm rambling, but that's what this podcast is for. Solutions. Turn off all your notifications on your phone and instead set a time to check on updates from email or Twitter, even if that time is literally every 15 minutes at first. That is such a great way to immediately begin realigning yourself with the way you use the internet. Anyway, yeah, I really would. You have a choice of social medias. That's what and a lot of them are really great. A lot of them are better in a lot of ways. A lot of them are literally, like, Twitter has been stealing features from Mastodon for years now. Voice tweets. Mastodon supported audio posts like 18 months ago, and you can customize the album art and upload like a 40 megabyte MP3. Okay? The issue, which I've tried to continue to try to contend with in my Facebook essay, which will be published someday, is of course the people that your friends, your family, jumping off into a new social media. Now that social media is not a place to meet people with similar interests and engage with them, to discover them. Discovery is not a thing with any social media right now. Which if you were originally on Twitter or forums or IRC, fucking email lists, that was what made it. It's what made the internet fun, is discovering people. Please remember that. But you don't have to immediately abandon Facebook and go to Mastodon. There's a really handy tool that cross-posts between Twitter and Mastodon. Set that up and just start posting automatically. Whatever you post on Twitter, just will post to Mastodon. See who turns up. Check it. Yeah. Also another thing. All right, I'm going to move on. But the whole, yeah, it's really funny to post on Facebook that you're taking a break from Facebook. There's a reason people do that, by the way. It's not just senseless or whatever. There's legitimate reason behind that, and it's accountability. It's holding yourself accountable. Yeah, so feel free to post on Facebook, hey, I'm taking a break. Or just fucking disappear and see what happens. I know for many of you, there would be no professional consequences for me if I did that, so I keep that in mind. Okay, let's move on. Thanks for bearing with me on that. That post can be found, of course, at bilge.world/the-social-dilemma. So the new iPhone, the iPhone 12 came out. I love that there's a smaller phone. It's not small enough, the iPhone mini. I love that it looks more like the iPhone 4, which debatably is the most beautiful piece of consumer technology design ever. But 5G, I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. So 2 years ago when I had it's not that I didn't have internet. The crucial thing is that I just had a trickle. I had basically more or less dial-up speeds. It taught me so much about, or made me like put into perspective, how wasteful we are with data now, with bandwidth. There's an environmental impact, yes. And the numbers we're talking about are crazy. One example that I'd love to bring up, iOS updates. Nameless iOS updates to apps like, okay, I think there was a Twitter app, Twitter update, Twitter for iOS, yesterday that I downloaded, 122 megabytes. That's 6 times the entire hard drive space of a computer from the 80s. That wouldn't be like, that'd be a ridiculous comparison, except it's very possible, especially with text, to operate like normally day to day. The files that you're making, exchanging, this is a hard one, to be like kilobits, still possible. 122 megabytes, and of course the release notes are just, we make changes regularly to the other. What the fuck is 122 megabytes? That's actually huge. That's a big update. What could have possibly changed? Why are there regular 100 plus megabyte updates, 500 megabyte updates to phone applications that yield no visible change in functionality, features, anything? We really need to get back on that. I know it sounds petty, but like, it's wasteful. 5G, the numbers that they're talking about for 5G, 2 gigabits per second down in ideal conditions. Why? What are you doing on your phone? And why right now, in the middle of the pandemic where we're all staying at home, why is this a priority or something we're excited about? Faster mobile data speeds. I mean, my average on Sprint, which is not the best network, and this is not the strongest area, I'm in Missouri for them, like, I don't know, it's like 20 megabits per second down. It's not all that reliable. Sometimes it's an issue not being able to load what I want. But like, those things, like the reliability, has nothing to do with upping to 1 gigabit per second download speeds. Never ever could any handset, could a dozen handsets make use of that speed. Why? And why is no one being like, just, this isn't what we need? Invest in a more reliable connection. Invest in an infrastructure that makes connections more reliable and widespread. Invest in spreading mobile broadband to where it still isn't in a lot of the world, in the Western world even. But that's a given, I guess. Digital excess, a big topic, but we're gonna move on. I installed WordPress. I caved in and did it. davidblue.wtf, the domain. I moved to DreamHost because I just wanted to try it. It's great-ish. There was a huge downtime a few weeks ago. I don't know what's going on with DreamHost, but anyway, I'm just basically fiddling around with WordPress. The default theme, modifying it. Is there anything interesting to say about that? One, I've learned that actually going back and reading about the history of word processing, blocks, as in the Gutenberg blocks that everyone was so worried about, like changing it from being a, linear line by line composition interface to composing in blocks. Blocks were from the very beginning the ideal. WordStar, you manually mark blocks and other word processors, but you manually mark blocks and then move them around. Text blocks. Yeah, not a new thing. I was running a Windows Insider build on my Microsoft Surface laptop too, because I love running beta software because like the consequences that one used to associate with beta software are more or less non-existent these days. Like, yes, I put the iOS developer beta on my daily driver phone with zero actual consequences. Granted, I don't make phone calls, so you know what? But like, beta software, just like, it's all software is such a mess now, I guess. The betas can't be that much more of a mess. Anyway, so I run like Chrome Canary, which is like the most on the edge, night updates, experimental, nothing. You can just use it as, it's just Chrome. But I finally experienced severe consequences from my Insider build. When I installed the Insider build, basically nothing changed, except at first, just my webcam was broken. Just not recognized. Try doing like reinstalling the driver, forcing Windows to reinstall the driver, updating the driver, manually reinstalling the driver, going to old versions of the driver. And Windows just didn't see my webcam. And I was like, well, wasn't an issue until I was about to go to school and I had to go actually be seen in Zoom classrooms. So I came back to that and I was like, okay, I'm going to fix it. And I did a thing. Check disk is a tool, old Windows tool. I don't know what it does, but it's one of those troubleshooting things that if you really get into like hardware and stuff, you use check disk. My crucial error was not running check disk. It was running check disk with the instruction to fix. I did that. And Windows was broken. It would restart and then it would say like, hold on, we're trying to fix it. And then eventually it would take me to a BIOS-esque menu. It's a Windows menu that's like, do you want to restore or like recover Windows? Recovery never fucking worked. I tried to make a recovery drive with my mom's Mac. That didn't work. I literally went to a local computer store and was like, will you make me a recovery thumb drive for Windows 10? They're like, yeah, but don't tell it. It's really funny. They were like, yeah, we're just selling you a thumb drive. Whatever happens to be on it, as if it's, I don't know. Anyway, that didn't work. You know what worked? I put Ubuntu, good old Ubuntu, on a thumb drive. And it was Ubuntu that allowed me to go, not recover Windows, but, so I did lose some files. I'm just brushing past that. I don't know what they were. I'll never know. So I'm just not even worried about it. Most of the files were OneDrived, clouded. So yeah, Ubuntu is what allowed me to start everything over, repartition, and then reinstall Windows 10. But yeah, so I finally broke Windows. And yes, on my new desktop, I am not running the Insider build. Boy, oh boy, I'm really getting into it. I'm not going to be able to cover everything I wanted to in this episode, but that's okay. Another service I discovered, so one of the reasons why I created a WordPress blog is because I wanted to do like little reviews. That's what it's literally called. Little reviews, davidblue.wtf/little, I believe. Just, I don't know, somehow, inevitably, Bilge is just a blog. Inevitably, I felt the pressure to like compose a certain way, or make reviews of software a certain way, even though literally no one reads them. So I don't know why. But I just want to do like little anecdotes. Those turn into more than I ever wanted to Anyway, Raindrop is a bookmarking service. It's a lot more than that, but developed by one person that I'd never heard of. But literally within minutes after hearing about it, I was subscribed to the premium service. Raindrop allows for public collections of bookmarks with tags. It saves copies of the webpage, which I think is a big thing. Pocket do that? There's so many scrapers. Notion's web scraper is fucking crazy, by the way. I don't know why it's so good. It's so good in specific, most of the time. And then there are specific use cases where it just refuses to be useful. Raindrop.io. If you go to davidblue.wtf/magazine, I posted this on Instagram, which I'm sure no one actually got. It'll take you to my digital magazine collection, which is actually it's like 230 something links to magazines on the web. Represents a lot of time, a lot of browsing. It's not like I'm doing like 30 a day. It's like one every few weeks, I discover. That's the way that Raindrop presents it. There's just a big update 2 days ago. Is beautiful, and you can actually change the way. I can't describe this over audio. Basically, it makes Pocket look really stupid. Notably, it's got a very configurable browser extension with a keyboard shortcut and tags. There are collections, nested collections, and tags. How it organizes bookmarks. I actually did a YouTube tutorial on I wanted to take my Discord reading list, which is been where the Compact channel in the Extra Tone Discord. That's been my reading list. That's been my Pocket for 5 years now. I wanted to export that, using the Discord chat exporter, take that HTML file and import it into Raindrop. Raindrop imports bookmark files. This format dates back to Netscape. It's a Netscape bookmark file format. So it's a specific format within HTML. I published a video on how to get a Discord export into that format so you can import them. Not on Extra Tone's YouTube channel. If you search Discord links to Raindrop on YouTube, it's the first one. Using a $30 webcam. But yeah, Raindrop is a really cool tool. In tandem with Notion, it's changed the way that I've browsed the web for the first time in a very long time. Changed the way that I've done research. I don't know if it's good yet. It seems like I've spent a lot of time fiddling with these tools instead of actually browsing, but it's okay. I'm not going to, as much as I wanted to cover digital gardens, it's going to be a topic for another time. Because it's just, go to tomcritchlow.net, search for digital garden. Look at it's a term that refers to cultivating one's knowledge that in a way that is not linear as the web has become. But I won't say any more about that. I got a mechanical keyboard. I posted about the mechanical keyboard. If you're interested in that, davidblue.wtf. I'm not going to mention it again. I already broke my rule because I said in the post that I wasn't going to mention it again. I like it though. It's pretty cool. I hate Kindles, but I've got my mom's old Kindle Fire. Still don't understand when it was made. 2016, I think, but it's got a fucking camera in it, but no apps that take. I hate Kindles, but going to school, digital textbooks, actually reading at length, sitting at a desktop doesn't really work. Or it does, but it's not ideal. I don't know. I've made some use of it, not as much as I thought I would. It's sitting in the corner of my room on the floor. I got a notice from my ISP I guess I torrented. I don't remember torrenting it, but I was looking for a copy of my public speaking textbook. It's an awful textbook written by a guy. It's not really a textbook. It's one man, not peer reviewed. I got an ISP notice being you can't, this is a DMCA violation, which is hilarious. But yeah, so I can't really say anything about the Kindle other than it doesn't why hasn't Adobe come up with a hardware line of PDF e-readers? Because the Kindle does not handle PDFs well. It's not ideal. It only handles .mobi files, which are Amazon's native ebook file, I think. That's the only file that you actually enable the actual e-reader features. Otherwise, it's just a fucking tablet reading a PDF, which is still not ideal. Boy, oh boy. Let's see. I think I should just end this there. That was an update. I'm sorry that I rambled so much. Going back to Notion, it's worth noting that most of my work in Notion, as it goes on, is publicly viewable. So you can literally watch me working on my schoolwork if you want. Literally all of my notes, all of my note-taking process right now is publicly viewable on all of this, including the notes to this episode. If you're interested, davidblue.wtf/wiki will take you to a index page. /social will take you to a social directory where I can be found. Wrapping this up. I've been trying to keep it updated. There were so many more things I wanted to talk about, but yeah. Right now, I'm working on a review of the Microsoft browsing experience. Edge Chromium is somehow really fucking good. But basically the experience just includes Bing. I'm hoping to finish that up soon. I'm hanging out in the Microsoft community Discord. There's an official one in the Office channel. giving tips. Unfortunately, most of the time when people come there seeking tips, they're seeking Excel tips. I know nothing about Excel. I know Word very well. If you know how to, please, if you, in OneNote, which I should be using, but I would, except the text is movable in, we're just saying text blocks, but it's not text blocks. It's just, does anyone know how to anchor the text? To set OneNote to just to be normal notes documents that are linear and not just haphazard. If you know that, please contact. At NeoYokel on Twitter, David Blue at Mastodon.social, Mastodon. Redirection. I posted a thing, Extra Tone. There was this cool feature. I thought it was cool, where I set up using the redirection plugin by John Godley, which I literally reviewed a plugin on davidblue.wtf, a WordPress plugin, or not reviewed it, but just talked about it because it's so powerful. It basically allows you to set any directory on your domain as a redirect anywhere on the web. So for Extra Tone, if you went to extratone.com/Facebook, it would redirect you to the Extra Tone Facebook /Twitter to the Extra Tone Twitter. Yeah, I'm working on that for davidblue.wtf. If you really want to find, if you've been listening to this whole thing, like, God, I'm so intrigued by this guy, you can find me. Bilge.world, davidblue.wtf. I'm going to stop talking now, but maybe I'll come back sooner and it won't be 5 months. Or maybe I'll be dead. I don't know. I'm just working on Writing with Light. Track Changes is such a good book, man. We talk about it for hours. But yeah, this has been episode 7 of End User. I hope you had fun. Wake up and good morning.